This conference will now be recorded.
All right, there we go. All right, guys. So today is Wednesday, April 17th. And as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. All right, so let's talk about Qualcomm. So this is obviously, one of the number one things that we see going on this morning. And one thing that we just have to realize is that we got our new buying. So at 79, we had a beautiful amount of ask prints that came in right before we started our meeting at 8:57. Obviously, 8.7 million shares volume is absolutely phenomenal, but we did not pull back at all the amount that we need to pull back for those amount of ask prints at that 79 level. Keep in mind, I would not be shocked to see them run this up to around 80 because they have been pushing this up pretty well since I've been watching it this morning coming back in. So I would not be shocked to see them push it up to 80 before we really get that pullback. But in order for me to be able to go long on this, I'm going to need to see, a proper pullback from that 79 level and the amount of ask prints that we had coming in. We actually had a bunch coming in before as well at that 79 level. And then underneath, we have been seeing a little bit of selling. So I'm going to be, the perfect case scenario trade in this, situation is for this thing to run back up to 80, get far away from the pullback underneath that 79 that we need, and for it to pull back to around that 78.10 print line. But as we can see, I mean, this thing is already kind of, it's already going. So like I said, 80 being such a big psychological number, I would not be shocked at all to see them running up to that 80 level before really giving that proper pullback from 79. Now, next one on our list is INTC. So INTC, it's kind of interesting. It's not as clear cut as what we've been seeing going on in Qualcomm, because if we come over and we look right underneath that 59 level, we saw a huge amount of selling, and we can see based off of afterwards coming up at 59, getting those ask prints, it's telling us that it's that it wants to go down a bunch. So overall, there's a lot of selling, and I'm just not seeing the new buying that's been coming into it to really be able to match that. And we have a huge support level that's sitting here at 58.50. So we're going to be watching that. If we break below that 58.50 level, there's no reason we don't see this thing come to 59. Just keep in mind that on average, it moves 87 cents. So we do have a million shares. We are going to be expecting it to move a little bit more than we typically would see within its range. But at the same time, it's not a huge moving stock. It's going to be a bigger mover. Well, statistically speaking, will be a bigger mover than what we typically see, but it's still not, it's not one of those stocks that we're more than likely going to end up seeing move $3, $4, $5. So keep that in mind as we're looking for the trade. And the only other thing that I really have right now is MS, and MS is on my side list because I'm just not really a big fan of the volume traded. Okay, so the overall volume, 445,000 shares, is perfect, but the actual way that it trades itself, I am not a huge fan of. And we can see right here another one, 84 cents is what its typical range is. So it's not really, more than likely not going to be a huge mover. So we are getting some selling that's coming in at that 48 level. But right before, this is another one, it's very mixed at that 48. We can see coming up above it. So a little bit of ask and and some decent buying that came in, but unfortunately I'm just seeing a lot of selling and a lot of a mixed level. So I'm going to need to see something a lot better than what we have so far for me really to have my show of hand. What is Qualcomm's average? Let's go back. 84 cents, what was it? $1.25. $1.25 though, but keep in mind it moved $13.75 yesterday. So technically Qualcomm's average is not $1.25, but overall, based off this volume, I would not be worried at all for this thing to be able to move way more than that. I mean, it's just a huge push. The stock right now is trading as basically as a regular stock would, as the market is already open. So let's take a look at our scanners. Let's see if anything new has came up since then. Oh, also two things that I want to go over. So first of all, I was just talking with Donna. So Apple had buying yesterday at 200 and 201. Let's go back. Okay. Also, just as I just had that up, just remember that, guys. Intel is 100%. Not Intel. Qualcomm is going to be an exception. Just keep that in mind as you're looking for, to come into the rules, and the amount of volume that we see getting put into this thing where, pullbacks and pull downs should be fairly quick. So just keep that in mind as well. All right, but going back to Apple yesterday, buying at 202.01. So it did not pull back as much as we would have expected. So keep that in mind. I could see, that the price target of 198 eventually happened, on the 12th that we came back down, 196.21. So our conservative price target for that pullback was 198, and obviously we can see making that move. And then also we have Roku that has buying at 59. That was not satisfied either. So both of those you guys were looking at yesterday. So just those are, they're not really doing too much right this second. I mean, Apple is starting to move a little bit, but Roku we can see is not doing anything. But just keep that in mind as we're for your list. So let's take a look at the scanners. Let's see what else we got going on here. So we have SFS, which just looks like a buyout. There's nothing that we're going to be looking at whatsoever. MBRX, 1.7 million shares, but way too quantity, not much going on there at all. Qualcomm, obviously, we just spoke about. UXIN, we have 1.2 million shares. Now, this is going to go on our side list. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of is if it lets me go all the way back. Okay, so we come into this 8 o'clock time period, and you can see there just wasn't really that much buying that came into before that actually pushed it back up. There's a little bit that's sitting around that 220 area. So we're going to put it on our side list. I am going to keep an eye on it, but I really would like to see something some type of way better show of hand than what we actually have going on out there. All right. Moving along, we have ABB, 298,000 shares, but nothing going on. SBGL, 321, absolute garbage. NIO, 2.7, nothing Intel we already know about. And then we have Eric. Let's take a look. Absolutely nothing. So new to the list, but nothing going on. And then the losers list is extremely, extremely small. So MRKR, 179, nothing going on there. Mavis, not enough volume. BK, absolutely nothing. SOXS, 265,000 shares, nothing going on there either. And then S is not something that we're going to look at. On average, trade 17 cents. That's not going to work for us. Derek says JMIA. Let's take a look. JMIA. Okay. So, yeah, it's not terrible. Not terrible at all. 49, making that move back up. So obviously it's a IPO. So coming in, I'm not a big fan. The buying that's been coming in over 50. If you look so far, the bigger prints. I know the orders are extremely thin, but there's really been no bigger prints over that 50. You have one print that came in at 51, and it's showing exactly that move back towards that downside. But volume is definitely picking up. I'm going to put it on our side list just because it doesn't really have anything that any type of show of hand yet. But no, it more than likely is going to be will be a trade today coming back into there. Just looking at its average, looking at the way that it's trading in the pre-market, we just need a better show of hand because, like I said, above that 50, for this thing to move all the way up to 50 from that 49 level. 5150 in that there just was nothing that was really behind it. So it looks like it's following the prints very well. So we'll definitely put that one on our side list there. Now, anything else out there that I missed? Anything else? Just keep in mind, guys, too, if your computer freezes a little bit, if you have Qualcomm and INTC up at the same time this morning, you're more than likely going to freeze. So just, be aware of that. But, if your computer runs fine, then, put up, you guys know how, the computer is. S-Prints at 80 in Qualcomm. Let me see. S-Prints at 80 in Qualcomm, does that make it for a bigger pullback? No, not necessarily. It still needs to pull back to about the same spot. And like I said, the perfect case scenario would for us to see it go back, and for some reason it's not pulling back up. Well, but that back to that 78.10. But remember, it's going to be an exception. But 78.10 is where I would be looking for that pullback to come back in. The S-Prints at 80 are showing us more. That has more room to the upside. But keep in mind, there are going to be huge positions. Look, I mean, it's already traded 10.7 million shares, so there's going to be huge positions that are being built in this thing today. All right? All right, guys. Well, I am so happy to be back. It's so nice to just sit down in my office at the computer and get back into that routine. Like I said, in the next day or so, either let's say probably Monday the latest, because I'm just waiting on a few other pieces of information from the hotel that we're going to be in Miami. So once I have all that information, I'm going to start telling you about the packages and everything, all the details coming into that, and then Traders Exchange tomorrow at 12:30. All right, guys. I will see everybody in the chat, and happy trading.